Hello everyone, in this video I want to give you a part 2 of that package of samples I've got from a dear friend, and we've got some fragrances to talk about today. There will be 7 fragrances, so that's quite a lot for just one video, and I hope I'll be able to make it, or my nose will be able to make it. I will take it in no particular order. However, I have to mention this. These were fragrances that I wore and tried during Christmas, so here we are a good 3 months after that, and this will be very interesting for me because I hardly remember them. I have just a vague maybe representation of them. I haven't smelled them since, and it will be interesting to see if anything in my perception has changed on them. Now, most of them, or all of them, are, niche scents, so be wary that I know next to nothing on them. I can't tell you many details on the houses or on the scents or the stories behind them. I'm afraid this might be a longer video, but it's fine. We'll get through it. So the first one I grabbed is Boszporusz Nishane. All of them have been mentioned by me in my Insta stories. If you follow me, you know I mentioned them during Christmas and the holidays after that. And Boszporusz, I remember it. It's Nishane. It isn't a house I haven't came in contact with. There's other scents I've smelled from Nishane, and I don't have an opinion of the house. I don't think there's something from the house that I truly liked. However, Boszporusz, which is a discontinued scent, unfortunately, is something I came to appreciate because of the way it smells and the references that it has. Now this, of course, the name Boszporusz, right? It's supposed to be the Strait of Bosporus, which I think is one of the meeting points, well, sort of a meeting point, because it's a strait, so the continents do not meet, between Europe and Asia. Bosporus is in Turkey. I don't know what to tell you about the spelling in Hungarian. I don't know what that's supposed to mean. This was done by George Lee, I remember. And this is, it's green. Because it's called Boszporusz, I was expecting something terribly marine about it, and the notes for this are very, how would I say it, are very generous. They cite algae. There it is. This came out in 2015. This cites seagrass, gardenia, jasmine, oak moss, patchouli, amber, whatever, sage and cypress. But this comes across as very green at first and nothing else. It's like the steppe close to a sea, which is dry and quite fragrant, those fragrant dry grasses. But apart from that, this fragrance doesn't promise anything else. However, because I did wear this fragrance and I do remember its trajectory, there's 2 very interesting things about this one. So the first reference is Kenzopurom to my nose. It's Kenzopurom. It has that oily, dark type of marine reference. And when I say oily, I do mean both in terms of texture and in terms of scent-wise, a reference to oil and the way petroleum smells, which is to say something very bitter, and it's sticky and quite interesting. I do remember Kenzopurom. It did give me that feeling, and Kenzopurom is basically sandalwood, right? It's just sandalwood, I think. But that sandalwood does have a marine quality to it, and it was very, very interesting, that one. I did smell the recent formulation of Comme, I think they call it. It's nice. I think it works, the eau de toilette. I haven't smelled anything else. I think it still works, but the bottle is... I think it's not as nice as the older bottle of Comme, but I digress. So there is a certain bitterness and a certain greenness to it that kind of resembles seaweed. But what I find about this fragrance is a notorious lack of saltiness. There isn't anything salty about this fragrance, which is a shame because I do like marine salty scents. When I look on the fragrances that this fragrance reminds people of, I see Sel Marin by Healy, not at all. I think I see Acqua di Sale, not at all. So be very careful when using Fragrantica. Be wary of this. Always smell the fragrance for yourself. It's not true what people say, at least to my nose. Now, the second interesting thing about this fragrance is the references to Antaeus. In time, this fragrance will get darker and darker and will become more oak mossy on my skin. And because of the bitter vegetals, it kind of transforms into this still marine sort of leather, which does remind me of Antaeus quite a lot. And it's that same sort of dark, raw, labdanum type of scent, which is very, very beautiful. It's very beautiful. So two references in Boszporusz, Antaeus and Comme. This might give you a feel of what this fragrance smells like. However, this fragrance is still very much its own scent, and it was a beautiful scent. I think I might have gotten this one if it was still available, but sadly it is not. So let us move on. Let's see. Don't want to look. Okay, now it's a shame I got this one. This is El Cosmico DS&Durga. I have to search. I don't know anything about these. This I remember smelling. This is a very potent scent. So I kind of wanted this to be one of the last things I smelled in this batch. But alas, I have to play by my own rules. So let's smell this. This came across as a very strange and unfamiliar blend of green. Oh my god, there it is. Green and mineral. I have to smell it like this because it's very, very strong. And this is something I did wear on my skin, and I had to wash it off because I wanted to wear something else that day, and it was just too overpowering to me. Now, this came out in 2015 as well. The noses cited here on Fragrantica are Davis Seth malts and Cavi malts. Don't know anything. And the notes are pine, pepper, kella, which I don't know what it is. Let me just check. Oh my goodness. Toothpick weed. I see that it's an umbellifer. It's an umbrella plant. I don't know anything about it. Oak, creosote bush, and sand. Now these are all, imagined or imaginary notes, but this is, again, this is a very, my god, this is vile. Ugh, this is vile. So when I wore this, it's not to say the scent isn't interesting or alluring, and in the atmosphere, it's something, you might want to check out, to see what it's all about. But when you're the person, or at least when I was the person wearing it, it was vile to me. It turned my stomach, because it's something beyond green. As I said, it's where green meets mineral, and the sensation there, it's like something that's very off-putting without it being animalic at all. It's not an unpleasant type of, it's like smelling something that's went bad. It's like smelling, salad that's, stood in the fridge for too long. Truly something I don't want to have near me. That isn't to say when it comes to niche perfumery, this is something I do want to smell. It's experiments like this, like these, that I do want to smell. So for this, I think it's very interesting. Now, when this thing settles, it reminds me of one fragrance that I do own, and because there is a sense of familiarity to all of this, and it is Santal du Pacifique by Paris Monte Carlo. So it is the only way my nose and my brain could shed light on this fragrance. And Santal du Pacifique is sandalwood, and again we've got a sort of slightly floral, very woody, sour, marine type of scent, which is very, very interesting. There's a bit of saltiness to it. There's a bit of salty osmanthus to the scent profile. I don't know if it helps. That vegetal, slightly peach, dry but wet at the same time. Sort of woody scent that is osmanthus. And I think that the camphor is the most obnoxious thing about it, because the camphor is what carries the fragrance and gives it this upward trend and very intrusive thing that it does. But it's very, very interesting nevertheless. I mean, you should be smelling this if you want to know this green upon green type of scent that it is out there, It is quite interesting, but strangely alluring. Now let us move on, because I don't want to be in this vicinity any longer, and throw this further away because it projects like crazy. All right. Now, another thing. Okay, this is L by Arquiste, which is something I really, really remember liking. It's something I really remember liking because it's this one was very, very familiar to me. Again, quite a potent scent, but this time very well received, because this reminds me 100% and through, from beginning to end, it reminds me of Kouros. And I have to ask myself, what is the point of this scent? Because to my nose, this is 100% Kouros. It is closer to vintage Kouros more than it is to current formulations of Kouros. Maybe this is the point. Maybe the creator really, let me see the perfume of this, really liked vintage Kouros and wanted to recreate it. This is Rodrigo Flores-Roux. And the notes for this, it's oak moss, orange blossom, castoreum, clary sage, honey, vetiver, civet, it's Kouros. It is Kouros. And this is beautiful. It's leathery and harsh and musky and animalic and pissy and raunchy and sweaty and sexy, and it's everything, right? It is everything. I will very much like to have this, as Yeah, I have Kuros. And this is the point, I think. I have Kuros, but however, I want this. Not because it's better than Kuros. Kuros is perfect. But there is a certain something, and I cannot tell you what that certain something is, but I want this. I like how this fragrance has worked. And I might get it if it's still available. If you can still find this fragrance, I might get it at some point, but this is just outrageously beautiful. And it's, oh my God, it's so potent. At some point, I just reminded myself, because I put it on the list as soon as I smelled it. And then I, you know, sort of talked myself out of it, because, you know, I have it sort of in Kuros, and it's, but I need to. Maybe I'll talk myself out of it again, who knows, but I have to have this at some point. I'm sure of it. Now, next one is this beauty. It's, oh my God, how do you read this? It's 2787 SÓNAR. This is such a quirky name. SÓNAR 2787. And this one, I really have to remind myself of it, because this, again, it's a journey. This fragrance. And I'm burning through them. I've got 3 left, I think. This is metallic milk. This is android milk. You know, do you know this reference? It's from Alien. I don't know. I don't remember the android's name. God, I should. I should remember the android's name. This, to me, smells like android milk. Look it up. If you don't know that. It is spectacular in terms of, you know, niche scents, right? This is what niche is supposed to do. The metallic notes from this remind me of Sécrétion Magnifique. It's that same type of milky, metallic iron supplement that reminds me of sort of the scent of blood. But I have to say, this is first and foremost a tuberose. But this is, you know, it's an android tuberose type of smell. This is amazing. This is very sci-fi. This was done by Jacques Iclier, by the way, which is, you know, quite surprising. I had no idea Jacques Iclier had it in him. This, again, is something I need to have in my life. It's a very abstract kind of smell. I don't know how to describe this one. Maybe using, you know, using the tuberose as an anchor. It's a spicy, creamy tuberose that is very sharp. It's like a metal rendition, a metallic, an aluminum rendition of a tuberose that's slightly oxidated, that's slightly bitter and sour at the same time. You know, it has that synesthetic feel when you touch a battery with your tongue. I don't know if you've ever done that. It's acidic, and it has that, you know, electrifying metallic aftertaste. I don't know. There are certain meeting points to Ganymede in this fragrance. There's that heated metal, citrus freshness, because it is indeed a very fresh scent, this one, and very, very familiar to this. There's something, I don't know where I smelt this before. But alas, a very, very beautiful scent. The notes for this are, I don't know if I told you, it's pink pepper, bergamot, beer, tuberose, saffron, metallic notes, vanilla, and woody notes. The notes are quite, I don't think they're very helpful. But what is helpful is tuberose and the metallic notes, I think. So yeah, another gorgeous, gorgeous scent. Now, let's see what I get. Oh, goody. This is Comme des Garçons 2, if that helps. And this is something I do remember liking quite a lot. Comme des Garçons. I'm talking about the mirror finish bottle, the silvery bottle, not to be confused with Comme des Garçons pour hommes, quite different from that one. And this one, I think it's fitting that I discuss SÓNAR before this one, because this again is a very sci-fi type of smell as well. This, while SÓNAR focuses on tuberose, this one focuses on milky, carnal, and very much metallic, again, magnolia. And magnolia is a much more romantic and much more delicate and much more interesting thing to have in a fragrance than tuberose, to my nose, because of its potential. It's such a delicate flower that you can drive it in the direction that you see fit. And in this fragrance, it's there again just as an anchor. It's the idea of a magnolia. It's a dreamscape magnolia. It's AI magnolia. It's something that's it's a magnolia from the Matrix, because it's a very recreated, recomposed idea of magnolia. It's latex magnolia. It's inky and not real. And it reminds me so well of the musky, ambergris parts of Ghost in the Shell, and the milkiness as well. I don't know what it is with sci-fi and milk, but I think it just works. This again is a very milky, bloody, plasticky latex, medicinal, but very much, simple scent again. And the milk, I think, serves as a touch of the human. I don't know, maybe it's just my imagination going wild, but it's like a rendition. It's like a mirror fragrance of a reality. So the nose for this is Mark Buxton, a nose that intrigues me very much because I've heard so many interesting things, and it's something I will have to explore in the future. And this is, again, it's something I do want to buy. It's the simplicity of the scent, I think. It's what does it for me. It's the apparent, it's a fragrance that's so easy to like. And it's so simple. And it's so emotionally charged. There's also those nostalgia elements. It's a fragrance about the millennium, it's a fragrance about, it's very futuristic. This could have come out today, but it didn't. This came out, my goodness, 24 years ago, 25 years ago, if you're counting. Can you honestly cite anything as futuristic as this? I don't think you can. Because this feels like it came out today from a very prestigious artistic niche house. This smells very, very much like something modern noses might find an interest in. Well, modern noses with inclination towards weirder scents. You know, again, I have to reference Sécrétion Magnifique. I did reference Ghost in the Shell already, which, you know, good references to have before those fragrances were even in concept. You know, it's very, very good, very, very interesting thing to be acquainted with this fragrance. And it is, as I said, it is something I will definitely want to add to my wardrobe at some point. Now, next to last fragrance for today is this Sultan Vetiver. This is again a Nishane scent, which I smelled, and to my nose, this is very much raw vetiver, which is to say dark, syrupy, sweetish, agglutinated to the base. You know, it's something that's very, it's not liquid. You know, it doesn't feel like a liquid. It feels more like a solid. It's like you're smelling a solid mass of very deep green, very woody, smoky, sour tobacco sort of, you know, with just a hint of florals. This is a very classical, in other ways, it's sort of classical vetiver, because vetiver is vetiver. There's only so many ways you can do vetiver, and I'm looking on the notes. It's several types of vetiver. I wouldn't be able to tell you the differences between Java or Haiti or bourbon vetiver. It's silly to me. With anise, bergamot, pepper, neroli, tonka bean, and amber and leather. You know, it's just, those aren't there necessarily. These are all facets of natural vetiver. And with this, I don't know what else to tell you about vetiver. Have either of you smelled the latest Marc-Antoine Barrois, the latest, it's not the latest, but you know, one of the latest, Encelade? I think it's one of those type of vetivers, which is, you know, quite common in the fragrance world, this type of vetiver. I think it's very easy to like. To me, it's not something that's terribly interesting. I couldn't tell you if there's something interesting about this fragrance in particular, but I do like the way it works. You know, I do like the leathery aspects, I do like the chocolatey aspects, I do love the fruity aspects, but again, these are all facets of vetiver, and I couldn't tell you if it's done well or not, because this is how raw vetiver smells. So yeah, this is about Sultan Vetiver. I don't know what else to tell you. It's a typical darker vetiver type of smell. Now, the last fragrance for today in this batch of fragrances is something I am very happy it is the last one. It's Douleur2 Bogue, or Bogue, or whatever. And this is a fragrance, I don't quite remember it, but I do remember it being very, very obnoxiously strong as well. And this is why I'm glad it's the last thing I'm smelling. Oh, yes, it's this is a peacock of everything but the kitchen sink. It's deeply floral, fruity, with sort of gourmand elements because it elicits salivary response, which is interesting. You know, the description of the fragrance on Fragrantica is, again, aquatic, metallic, ozonic, camphor, green, marine, mineral, rose, fresh, and salty. And, well, to be honest, to be completely honest, I don't find it, you know, it's very difficult to focus on all those elements when you're assaulted with these many florals, and they are heavy, heavy florals, but mainly what you get is rose. This is a huge rose. So if you're into rose scents, this is a very atypical rose, because as much as it definitely is, you know, a rose which is rosy and sweetish and jammy, this is quite a jammy rose. This is the edible part that elicits salivary response from me. It's also, you know, it is watery because it's sour, cucumbery, cologne type of watery scent. I wouldn't necessarily call it salty. However, it does make me think a bit of pickles. And pickles are salty, you know, so maybe that's a thing. It's also, it is quite mineral, this time without being milky, metallic, but I wouldn't be able to, it's mineral like alabaster. Have you ever, touched alabaster with your tongue? If you ever did this, you know, it's the same type of thing, which is something that's very difficult to describe. Again, it's mineral, it's sort of metallic. It's like, it's like tasting copper, quite close to that. It's like tasting oxidated copper. I did taste a lot of things in my life, so this is why I'm putting my tongue on everything, I guess. Batteries, copper, and alabaster and all that. But I think, you know, it's a minty rose. I think it's ultimately, I think it might be a patchouli rose. And I don't think I'm mistaken, but it's done very interestingly, you know. It kind of does manage to, you know, to steal your attention, to make you think of all these different things. And it is quite interesting that. It is very fresh. I don't know if I'd wear this fragrance. I think it might be, this fragrance might be a bit too much for me, as much as the other one, El Cosmico, definitely is too much for me. But it is an interesting experience nevertheless. It is something I do find interesting to have around, and maybe to smell to smell it on somebody else. I don't know how that would be. I do find it very niche and very artistic. Yes, I think I went through all 7 of the fragrances successfully. I don't know if my nose is still able to smell anything else. So again, this concludes this sample pack that I had. I do thank you, dear friend, once again for sending me these. This has been quite the experience, and I learned a lot, and I found many things that I will have to, you know, add to my collection at some point or another. And if you've got any other questions regarding all of the scents I've talked about today, do let me know in the comments. And until next time, remember, fragrance creates memories, and may yours be happy.